Okay, in this section, we're going to talk about oogenesis, the formation of female gametes, but first, just take a minute to revisit spermatogenesis. So if you remember, we had spermatogonium, we had two different types, and they did their mitosis thing, and then we entered spermatogenesis, where we had a primary spermatocyte that was 2N in meiosis 1. After the end of meiosis 1, we had two secondary spermatocytes that were each haploid in meiosis 2, and that gave birth to 4 spermatids, which underwent spermiogenesis and kind of cut them apart from each other. And this occurs every single day in the male from the time he hits puberty and has testosterone levels, has gonadotropin levels high enough to trigger the FSH and the LH, until he hits male menopause in his 80s. Okay, every single day, every single second of every single day, 1,500. That's 1,500 sperm per second being made. In case you didn't do the math, how you can do 85 million a day. Okay, so, and then after they're made, well, it takes some time for them to mature, a whopping 85 days or about 2.5 months. Okay, so women, we are different. First off, we're not going to have millions. We're not going to have 250,000, 350,000 oocytes in case we get pregnant. We're going to ovulate one at a time, which means over the entire lifespan, in our fertile years, we will ovulate maybe 400 to 450 times. Kind of depends how many times you're pregnant and how long that perimenopause stuff lasts. So let's look at the numbers. So on the left, this is numbers in millions, okay? So like the top number is 7 million, and then here is 1 million. And so breakout time, oocytes, which are half of your future children, ladies, were made in you while you were still in your mother's uterus. In fact, they started being made at about 6 weeks gestation. So early in the first trimester, your mother was carrying everything that would be her possible grandchildren from her daughters. Freaky. All right. So it peaks around the end of the first trimester, at which time 7 million oogonia have been made, from which you could have children. Yeah, that was the peak. Nobody wanted 7 million children. So by the time you're born, you've already lost 3/4 of them. Yep, 75% have died by the time you're born. You're down to 2 million. Oh, but you're not in puberty yet. So by the time you hit puberty, you have lost another 75%. So you're down to under 500,000 of them in puberty. And remember, they are all stuck in prophase 1 because they're all in primordial follicles. And they're just hanging out. And by the time you hit puberty, you know, they're 14, 15, 16 years old already. They're getting up there, long in the tooth. So if you put off child rearing until you're done with your education and you get your career started and say you're 35, because 35 is still young, really young, you're down to 30,000 of them. So you've lost more than 90% of them in those first 15, 20 years of your fertility since puberty, which is why they say it's harder to get pregnant as you get older. And there's a lot more involved with it, which is beyond the scope of this class. All right, so let's talk what happens right before ovulation. Well, the first thing is oocyte formation is nothing like sperm formation. Okay, sperm formation have followed all the rules for meiosis. Okay, oocytes don't. I guess we're special, we're women, what'd you expect? All right, so a few hours before ovulation, estrogen hit the set point, we have that LH surge thing going on, and that triggers that oocyte that was stuck in prophase 1 to finish meiosis 1. And when it finishes meiosis 1, yes, there are two cells. No, they're not attached to each other. That's only something that sperm do. Okay. But notice they're uneven in their division of the cytoplasm and organelles. It's kind of like when a child goes out with two parents, one parent carries the diaper wipes and the food and the diapers and everything that's needed, and the other parent got keys and sunglasses. Okay, so we've got the big cell, which actually is bigger than the primary oocyte. I don't know why the picture doesn't make it look bigger. And then we have the cell that didn't get much of anything, the poor stepchild. This is called a polar body. This cell is going to die. When it dies, can't tell, but it's going to die. It will never be the baby's mommy. So now the haploid cell that got everything, that's the cell that's going to start meiosis 2. Okay. When it finishes meiosis 2, once again, there will be a second uneven division. So at the end of meiosis 2, there will be one oocyte and two polar bodies. One from meiosis 1 and one from meiosis 2. Okay. So primary oocyte, you end up with a secondary oocyte and one polar body. And then at the end of meiosis 2, you end up with what will become a fertilized ovum and a second polar body. Not using the word ovum yet because ovum implies it's been fertilized. So putting it all together, oogenesis. Before birth, all your oogonia are made, and they all are in primordial follicles where we have primary oocytes, which are still diploid stuck in prophase 1. That all happens before birth, and then we pause. Okay. After puberty, right before ovulation, meiosis 1 is completed and you generate a first polar body, and then you have a secondary oocyte, which is ovulated while it is still in metaphase 2. Now, that first polar body on rare occasions may undergo division, but usually doesn't, because usually you end up with one oocyte and two polar bodies. Okay. That secondary oocyte will not complete meiosis unless it is fertilized. Okay, so at the time of ovulation, you're in metaphase 2. And that's it for this section. And come on back where we talk about fertilization and early pregnancy. Thank you.